Hey BookTube. So I am sitting down to film my full video, full review of Alchemized by SenLinYu. I love this book. I feel like there's so much that I could say about it. Um, I'm gonna try to make this as spoiler free as possible, but I will include like little tags so that if I am going to speak about a spoiler, you can pause the video and skip it. So that is their plan for today's video. So I have my laptop here next to me, and I have a bunch of notes pulled up on it because I wrote a bunch of notes immediately after I finished the book. So we're going to dive right into it. I think I'm going to start off by talking about the characters and the plot, and then we are going to, towards the end of the video, I'm going to go into the political implications of this book, the controversy surrounding this book. So we're just going to jump right into it. So one of the first things I had written down in the aftermath of finishing this story is thinking about Cain and Helena and Cain's alchemical array that ends up being carved into his back at some point in the story. So this is like a minor plot spoiler, but um not like huge. It has nothing to do with the ending. Well, it kind of does. I don't know. I don't know if I should say this is a spoiler or not, but we're going to talk about about Cain and Helena, their relationship, and the alchemical array that kind of causes him to be the way that he is. So, one of the things I wrote down was how Helena ensuring that Cain's focus would stay on her and that she would kind of become the object of interest with regards to the array. I'm thinking about how that's actually probably a huge part of what saves him throughout the war, because if he had been focused on something else, for example, either side of the war, whether that is the necromancy side or the eternal flame side, I think that if he had been focused on something else, it could have very likely resulted in his death. I also do think that with or without the array, I do think he still would have loved her, because I think even before this happens, their relationship is deepening, and their relationship it's present already, and you're seeing them interact with each other, and you're seeing them get intimacy from each other that neither of them are getting anywhere else. I mean, neither of them, for all intents and purposes, neither of them have families anymore. Helena is an orphan. She does not have a family any longer. And while Cain does have his dad, his relationship with his dad is obviously very strained. His dad is not really a good person. Um, and for part of the book, he thinks his dad is dead. So there's that as well. So back to the array, I think obviously it did magnify some of the things that Cain did, and it definitely did influence him in ways, but at the same time, I do think that he already was going to love her and already had those kind of seeds of love planted, and I think that judging by the fact that he crafted the array himself, I think that he already would have gone to extreme lengths to protect her even without it, and the array just kind of intensified everything. I also think now we're going to talk about Helena as a character. I think that Helena as a character, I so desperately at certain times in this book wanted her to be selfish. Like, oh my god, there were parts of the book where she was fucking breaking my heart. Like, uh, one of the other things I wrote and this is a spoiler, so this is a spoiler for something that happens I believe, towards the end of part 2. Um, so be forewarned, spoiler incoming. So, before you know what's happening with Luke when he starts treating her like shit, and so many other people in the Eternal Flame have already been treating Helena like crap, um, before you know what's going on with Luke, I had just kind of got to the point where I was like, girl, please get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Everybody else is going to die anyway. You could at least save yourself and have something. But obviously, a huge part of her character and a huge testament to who she is that she's so intelligent and smart, and she is a really good person. She is a very, very incredible woman, and she wants to care for everybody, and she wants to use her talents to make the world a better place, and she wants to save people. She really does. And that's one thing too, that even not in a war, in regular life, you can't save everybody. You can't be everything to everybody. It's not possible for one person to do that. But the fact that we have this, this backdrop of this horrifying war where these horrible things are happening, Helena is quite literally draining herself in order to save other people, and she continues to do it time and time again. And I think it just speaks volumes to her character. So, more spoilers regarding what happens with Luke. So, definitely looking back, I could see the seeds that were planted, the foreshadowing about Luke not being fully Luke and about his body being commandeered by the necromancer. I think that was really smart and very well done. And again, looking back, you can make those connections. Whereas, like, I had little inklings as we were going along, but I wasn't 100% sure of anything. Um, this is going to be, I'm going to talk a little bit about the epilogue, so if that is something that you wish to skip over, because it will also obviously be a spoiler for the end of the book, feel free to skip this part. So, I personally loved the epilogue plotline. I thought it was very smart. I thought it was very well done. With Lila and Apollo going back to Palladia, I feel like it kind of tied everything together and does really show that they were fighting for something, even though with the other countries not intervening and such, like, they were fighting alone at times. But I think it does show that they were fighting for something, and it makes a lot of sense, even though obviously it does present a challenge for Helena and Cain. Back to the ending before the epilogue. Think that with Atreus, how he ends up sacrificing himself for Cain, it was actually one of the things in the story that hit me the hardest. Earlier on in the book, there's a line, I believe it's Rhea Bayard who says it, but it's like the holidays, and she gives Helena this sweater, and Helena's like, I have nothing to give back to you, like, this is like too much, I can't accept this. And Rhea is like, you've kept my children safe, like, giving those sweaters, like, the least I can do. That's not the exact quote, but that's like the general vibe of their conversation. And that also, like, really, really hit me. I think that even though the main plot of the story is the war and how it irrevocably damages society and individuals and infrastructure, I think that not only was the romantic subplot between Cain and Helena extremely strong, but the subplot and themes of family and sacrifice, believing in and sacrificing yourself for something bigger than you, I think those were all very, very powerful themes in this book. And I find that this book actually really had me reflecting on things in my own life and my beliefs, and also things happening around me and in the political climate. I do, sure you can tell by my voice, I am an American. I've lived in America my entire life. So thinking about the backdrop of our country, my country at the moment, as well as the world on a global stage, I feel like this book really, as somebody who struggles with, going off script here, but as somebody who struggles with mental health and depression and anxiety, it can sometimes be really hard for me to, I feel such an extreme level of empathy that sometimes keeping myself tuned into world events can feel very detrimental to me, because I can get almost paralyzed by the other things happening in the world. And I feel like this book was a really great example of, like, you cannot do that. You still have to care about things that are bigger than yourself, and you have to put at least some of your energy into that, even when it feels hard. And I think that was a really, really good theme and a really strong point of this book. So now we're kind of in back to not true spoiler territories, but just some things about both different sides of the war. And this is where I'm going to start getting political. And I don't know. Maybe I'll lose some of you. Maybe I'll make some of you happy. I don't know. We'll see. But I think one of the things that was really, really interesting in this story is that neither side is fully in the right. Neither side is perfect, and neither side is fully in the right. Obviously, the Eternal Flame, yes, that's who you should be rooting for, because the Necromancy side, I mean, they're violating bodily autonomy. It's, that's a really dark and twisted concept. And once you get further into the war, plus after the war, you really see how corrupt that side is. So obviously you have to be rooting against these people. But at the same time, when you hear Kane talking about how the guild families and the guild students have been treated, and how, the Eternal Flame has kind of brought in people like Helena, people from other countries and other places in the world, and kind of put them on these pedestals and give them all these things. And the guild families and the guild students feel like they've had to fight so hard, essentially just for scraps. And these people feel really disenfranchised, and they just want to follow the party that they believe is going to lead them to a better life. And the parallels between that and conservatism in America was like fucking insane to me. Like, I was reading it and I was like, holy shit. Like, this is a perfect parallel to what has happened in America, with a lot of working class and poorer people feeling like Donald Trump especially, and right wing and conservatives are somehow going to be the party that fights for them and gives them what they've been deprived of and what they deserve. And I think that it is just very interesting to see those parallels. I will say, connecting back to politics as well, it was really interesting how the Eternal Flame was not perfect. I think their misogyny, their treatment of women, the outdated beliefs, the like puritanical nature of it all, I think it's very reflective of probably most politics around the world, but especially, being in the United States. And I think about, liberal and democratic views, and that is where I lean. That is what I believe in. But there's still flaws, and it's not perfect. And I think the Eternal Flame, it really, really illustrates that, even though they are different. Like, thinking about through the last election, seeing like a lot of young people say that they weren't going to vote at all because they didn't agree with either side. But then, as you see in the war, and as you see in this story, you can't be neutral, because you're going to be, your life is going to be influenced and impacted by whatever happens. So you can't be neutral. You have to choose whatever you believe is the lesser of two evils. And I think that there is definitely a bit of an element of that throughout this story. Like, thinking about, back to people not voting and not choosing a side. Like, I know a lot of people said that because the Democratic Party did not show enough support for Palestine, they weren't going to be voting. And it is true that the Democratic Party, both parties, should support Palestine and should want to help them, the Palestinian people. But then, going back to the lesser of two evils thing, I just felt like there was such a connection between politics now and the politics of the both sides of the war in this book. I think another thing, going back to looking at my notes again, going back to, it is very, very difficult to put your time and energy into helping others when you are just trying to survive. Helena is a shining example of doing the right thing, even when you yourself are struggling and are not necessarily benefiting from it. You don't really see her benefit from most of or any of the actions that she takes throughout the war to help the resistance. This will be another spoiler for the ending, and so giving you a second to click away or skip forward. But, you see at the end, she doesn't get credit for anything she did. She was a non-active member of the Eternal Flame and she did not fight. She fought more than a lot of the people you see throughout the story. I mean, and she gets no credit for it at all. And I think that also, has parallels to real life. Like, people do good things and sometimes do not get the recognition that they deserve. But at the same time, doing good is not about receiving recognition. And I think that is like a major theme and an important real life takeaway from this story. So now we're going to get into the controversy surrounding this book. So I was checking to see how much time I have left to film on my phone before it runs out of storage. So the controversy around the book, the fanfic origins, Manacled, the Harry Potter of it all. So I have seen some people saying that people liking and talking about Alchemised is in turn going to turn people to Manacled, which, after people go to Manacled, are in turn going to go back to the Harry Potter universe and line J.K. Rowling's pockets with more money. Now, I'm going to say I think that may be a valid point, because it's true. I've seen a lot of people saying, do I need to read Manacled to read Alchemised? Which, no, you don't. Alchemised is a completely standalone, reworked, rewritten story that does not have anything to do with Manacled or the Harry Potter universe. But in that same vein, I've seen people say, well, I want to read Manacled, now I want to read Harry Potter because I've never read either of those things. So, again, this will just be a teeny little soapbox moment. You do not need to read Manacled. You do not need to know anything at all about Harry Potter in order to enjoy this book and this story. It does stand entirely on its own. So just do keep that in mind if you are somebody who maybe has not read this book but has been thinking about it. At the same time, I think people saying that you shouldn't read it or that this book needs to be censored are also in the wrong. I think the themes of this book, the story, everything that it talks about are so, so, so important right now. And they're things that people need to be discussing given the political climate of the United States, but also the world. I think also the fact that Sen is a non-binary author really should not be overlooked, especially given the political climate and discrimination against trans people and the trans community. I think them being non-binary, I mean, you're supporting an out visible member of the trans community by supporting Sen and their writing. And I think that leaving that out of the conversation does a huge disservice to the book and to them as an author. So, in that same vein, I think two things could be true at once. I think, no, this probably should not have had the Harry Potter marketing that it did. They should not have connected it so much to Manacled and the Dramini of it all. They probably should have. But also, in using they, I am not necessarily talking about Sen here, but more their publishing team and, the marketing team, because I know that as an author, you do not always have a ton of control over the way that your book is marketed if you are going through like an agent and a publishing agency. So, but I also think that, yeah, banning the book is not the way to go. Hating on anybody reading this book is also not the way to go. I don't really think that either of those avenues are correct. So, I did also say this in another video that I filmed about this book, but, I understand that everybody's got an opinion, and everybody's opinion is different. And you can have your opinion, I can have my opinion, as long as it's not leading to, like, any violence or any, extremely charged, there doesn't need to be so much extremely charged energy and hatred behind it. It can really just be, hey, we have a different opinion. If you don't agree, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, it's a work of fiction. It is a work of fiction. Nobody's lives are at stake because of this book. It is just a work of fiction. As much as it does mean, obviously you can tell by the way I've talked about it in this video, this book did mean a lot to me, and it means a lot to a lot of people. But at the end of the day, Helena and Cain are not real. This war is not real. And it reflects real life, and that's why it's important. But at the end of the day, this book itself is not a life or death issue. And I think that there are shades of gray, there's nuance, and people need to remember that. I think also, if you haven't read the book, you are going to be missing a crucial part of this conversation, because how can you have a fully informed opinion on something that you haven't read? Just going back to one of the other things that I wrote down is just, if you feel like putting your money behind this book is somehow in any way contributing to J.K. Rowling, which I don't personally think it is, but if that is what you believe, I get it. Her views fucking suck. Her opinions are dog shit. She is bigoted, and she's not a great person, and I fully understand. I don't want to support her. I don't want to support her either, so I do get it, and I think that there can be room for people to have differing opinions about this without it turning into such a huge thing. I will say another thing about this book is definitely be aware of your own trigger warnings and how dark this book is. It's not like a giggling, kick your feet, like fun time little book. This is a very, very dark, tragically beautiful war story, or beautifully tragic, tragically beautiful. I don't know what words I want to use there, but it is really, really sad, and it is really, really, really hard to read at times. And if you don't want to read it for those reasons, please take care of yourself. Do not feel like you need to read this book just because you see so many people talking about it on the internet. So I have talked a lot in this video. I still have more notes. I think I have like 2 more pages of notes in on my computer right here. But I don't know. I kind of think the last thing I'll say is just going back to the character of Cain. I think that loving somebody as fiercely as he does, even though the actions that he takes are not really morally correct at all, very morally black, actually. But at the end of the day, I think who his character is, it makes their love so much stronger. And I think also that when you have loved somebody and you've been through really hard times, there was a part in the book where they're talking about love being not just hard and messy, but they were talking about it being dark. And I think that really, really hit me personally. I think just there was kind of a lot that I could relate to in there. And I think that one of the most beautiful themes of this book is how strong love is, and love as a powerful, powerful, powerful motivator. From, Helena's point of view, it's her love. She wants to save people. She wants to help the people she cares about. She wants to fight for the cause that she believes in. And for Cain, he has lost so, so, so much that when he finally starts to allow himself to love Helena, he does whatever he can to make sure that he doesn't have to let her go. And I think that, or doesn't have to let her get hurt would be a better phrasing for that. But I think that was just so, so beautiful. And it really, like, it really fucked me up. Like, it was so, so good. But yeah, I really think I could talk about this book forever, and I could never express every single thought that I have about it, because I'd be sitting in front of this camera, like, till the day I died. But it just, main thing that I would like to end this video with would just be that this book really did make me think about what is my own impact on the world. Am I doing something positive? Am I fighting for the people who need to be fought for? And what is it that I can do, you know, to make the world around me a better place, to offer, you know, people in my life or strangers or people in need, you know, a little bit of relief? And what can I do in order to live my life a little bit more like Helena, but obviously without the expense of like my vitality and like myself. So, yeah, those were a lot of my thoughts about Alchemized. I think that SenLinYu is a masterful writer. I mean, you can see I had so much to say. I marked down, made so many annotations about this book, but overall, I thought this was a wonderful read. Definitely take care of yourself. If you don't feel like you can read this, do not feel pressure to. I know it is really popular right now. I know that it's everywhere, and it is a fantastic read, but it is also like emotionally devastating, and it is a tough read. Um, I loved Kane and Helena. Their relationship was so beautiful. The story is so tragic and so devastating, but you know, the theme of love keeping people going, and the theme of love and caring about something bigger than yourself just really hit. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed my rambling, ranting. You know, I hope that you enjoyed it. And I hope that I will see you in the next one. Feel free to like and subscribe if you like what you see, and if you want more book reviews from me, because I'm going to be posting them whether people want them or not. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope that I'll see you in the next one. Bye!